Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Sit back and listen to interviews, discussion about books, and anything else literary. There's always something or someone new on the show. Okay. Good evening, listeners. I'm Amy Shannon, and welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Conversations, revelations, and inspirations behind the book. You never know where the conversation will lead us, so let's find out. Tonight we have a guest with us, so thank you for joining us, and will you please introduce yourself and let people know how they can connect with you?
I'm Charles Wardell. My first book is Come Up Big. I can be reached through BookGo Ventures, LLC, or Goodman Media.
Great, and I'll have those that information in the description of this episode when it goes live. So, you said this was your first book?
It is my first book, and in all honesty, might well be my last. I was inspired to write it through my son, who 2 or 3 years ago said, he's an amateur genealogist, and he said, Dad, you've done some interesting things, and a generation or so from now, they might be interested in a relative who partook in these events along the way, and why don't you write a book for the family? And I did. And the person who, and there's a company that helps you do that, and the person who I worked with, Michael McKinley, said, this is a book. You've got to flesh this out and write a real book, because these are unique experiences during unique times.
Right.
And so I did.
Great. No, that is wonderful. And I understand the keeping stories from generations. Myself, I've been passed the torch by my second cousin to keep the records of our family and genealogy and things like that. So I completely understand. Some of their stories I could not tell unless I didn't want to ever speak to them ever again. You know how that goes.
We have some things in common. The Wardells decided the British were going to win and not the colonists, so they went to Canada. As Charlie points out, it was an awkward re-entrance, but we did. Came back to New Jersey, and we actually are the ward of Dell from England. Came over early, and we have an interesting background as a family, and he's been kind enough to put it all down on paper.
Well, that is wonderful. I mean, I love family history. I love history in general, and I recently switched my genres, which were basically crime dramas or suspense and stuff, to writing nonfiction historical books locally, and also some children's books. But I love learning about family history, and recently I discovered that I ended up solving an 82-year-old mystery of our family. There is the one I thought was my cousin by marriage, and the other one is my aunt. And I'm not going to put names out there, but I did one of those DNA things, and when it came back, the one I thought was connected to me by marriage only was actually, we had a similar DNA match, and it turned out that her and my aunt were sisters, and they didn't know about it. They assumed it, but they could never prove it, and I proved it for them. So you never know what kind of stories are going to come out, and maybe people get answers or closure, or they're just like, oh, I wish I didn't know that.
Well, I started my book with a short history of the family and how we got here. But one of the things that has been discovered is for 120 years, we've told everybody that the first Kentucky Derby was in 1875, and my great-great-grandfather won it. And we have been all earnest honesty, told that story through 3 generations, only to find out he came in third.
Well, he was still in the Kentucky Derby, so
But there, yeah.
he probably assumed, yep, third place, I won. Not a bad way to go. So when you when you were working on this for your family before it decided to be put into a book that all of us can read and enjoy, what kind of like research did you do? Did you like interview people like in your family? What kind of resources and tools did you use to get your information from what didn't come out of your own head from family stories?
Well, I relied on my son's genealogy work, which is thorough, and I had a lot of files from each stop along the way. So I could write the book, the basic part of the book, from my own material. But I was very concerned that it be a journey. Who knew that you could get caught up in these types of things over a period of time, and did not want it to be in any regard a vanity book or there I was or who,
Right.
because that's not what I was trying to write. What I was trying to write is I had access without authority to an awful lot of interesting things that happened in the last half of the last century. And, many people have done some of them, but it was somewhat unique to have been caught up in many of them. And so I looked at my papers. I did, interview people who knew me, at different stages, and to put some more color around what, was going on. But I basically just wanted to tell the tale of somebody who was dyslexic and got kicked out of Hamilton College, flunked out, got drafted, and then went through the Vietnam War as I was a combat soldier, got into Harvard, went to the White House, worked for Henry Kissinger's State Department, and ended up as a corporate CEO, all of which were kind of serendipity because you can't plan that, and I certainly didn't. And I just wanted to express that if you keep slugging, things can happen. And so that was the genesis of it. And I hope I've succeeded. I know that the reviews have indicated that this was it's a good story. It isn't a vanity book, and that's really an important thing to me.
No, that is wonderful, and I can't wait to read it. I've been getting a lot of requests for, being people being pre-recorded. Like that's how I record all of my shows, and they give me their books, and I'm like, okay, so I will get to read it. But I
Do
like.
you have one? Do you have one?
I'd have to look because people send it to me and some haven't. So, yeah, if you have a digital copy, you could send it to me after the show or something. That would be great. Because not everybody that signs up, they send me their work, even though I say you can do that.
No, I'll make sure you get a digital copy.
Great. Yeah, I have my, um, my review website, and then this podcast spun off from that, and I think that authors need to be able to have a voice and tell their story, and I like that, and it kind of goes this way every time where we talk about everything, so people know stuff that the effort and passion that it takes to put a work in. I mean, some people, I've heard this, oh, I should write a book. Well, you know, and, they think their life is so glamorous or unforgettable and they think they should write a book, but when it comes down to it, they don't. So I find actually, I think it's wonderful that um, even if this is your one and done, I think that this will be something, especially your family will cherish and moving forward. Because if as writers we can leave behind our legacy, our words, and I think especially when you've done something so magnificent with this. I mean, I would think like, you know, I could tell a lot of stories and then, would they be worthwhile or do I should not talk about certain things? It's just that whole mess of stuff. But so have
Well, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. Go ahead.
I wanted to write about events, not me. And, things that in today's world seem like civil war, getting a letter from the president saying greetings from the president. In this case, it was President Johnson. You will report, and in military terms, NLT, not later than 22 October, to Fort Hamilton. I mean, in today's world, you think that's crazy. You just got a letter out of the blue and suddenly you're in the army, and I wanted to write about events and how I was part of them, um, but how I got caught up in them and how they kind of came together. How do you get from Vietnam to Harvard? How do you get from Harvard to the White House?
Yeah.
What was the State Department like? And I say in the book that I was a member of the Wall Sitters Union. I got to the room, but I never got to the table. I was always sitting against the wall.
But yeah, and that's so amazing. And, sometimes we don't reflect on, okay, what we did to get to where we are. And when you were talking about the letter, okay, now you're in the army. Some people don't realize that, that's what, when you're 18 and you're a male, you have to sign up for the selective service. And some people don't even know what the draft was. So that, knowing that kind of stuff, I think is important too. I mean, a lot of, I think what's that? The last time they implemented the draft was in Vietnam. I don't want to be quoted on that if I'm incorrect, but I think that's when they did the last time they implemented a draft. But
They went to a lottery, and then Nixon ended both. So it was in the Nixon administration that the draft ended, and then the lottery system where your birthday was picked out of a ball of birthdays, all the birthdays, 365 of them, and the farther away you got from the first pick, the better off you were.
yeah, yeah. So do you talk about your time in Vietnam?
Yes, I do. I talked about my time in the service. I was drafted as a private. I went to OCS, Officers Candidate School, became an officer. I went to the Special Warfare School at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I served with what they call host country nationals. I served with the 5th ARVN Division, not U.S. troops, but the Army of Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And I fought as an advisor to the Vietnamese Army. And I was in combat. And I put in the book a couple of when you get decorated for hero, as I was, for heroism in ground combat, you get something which it says from the President of the United States. Obviously, it's not, but
Yeah.
it describes what you did and the decoration you got. There's so much of this stolen valor stuff going around, which I think is a disgrace, that I just put in the book the documentation that I talked about. And so, my diploma from Harvard is in it, my picture of diploma from the Special Warfare School, pictures of me in Vietnam. The actual decoration, I got many, but the one I wanted to talk about is in the book. And because I wanted to get the reader to get a feel of, he really was there,
Yeah.
and I was scared when I was there, and I'm still scared. I mean, but I wanted, as part of this journey, to document each way, so that it wasn't hyperbole. It was real, and this is how it got glued together. And yes, I do talk about Vietnam. I talk about getting kicked out of Hamilton. In fact, in the very beginning, Dean Tolles of Hamilton College called me in, and he said, "The weed of neglect grows bitter fruit." We're sending a letter home. And that was the end of my Hamilton College career.
Wow. But I want to thank you for your service before you move forward. Thank you very much for your service.
You're welcome. In hindsight, I'm very proud to have served. When I had the opportunity, I was terrified.
I can see that. Yeah.
But I did it.
I can't imagine it, but I can see it. I mean, I never had to be put in a situation like that, but I'm very honored to have you on my show. Thank you for your service and sharing your stories about that. I, um, not too many. I mean, there are some that have written about their memoirs in, their experiences in war. Um, but some can't. So I think you are also very fortunate that you have your family and the support of, your entire family. And then, have they read the book themselves? Has your family read it besides your son?
No, they've read it and enjoyed it. And I get good. We're a close family. I have two brothers and a sister. I get a good dose of brotherly ribbing. But no, they're proud of me about it. And also, I have a real sense of humor. I love to laugh, and it comes across in the book. The book is funny. I mean, it's laugh out loud funny in parts.
Oh, I can't wait.
And in fact, if you'll let me, I'll read you the last sentence in the book, because
Sure, I'd love it.
I definitely wanted to. This is at the end. I say, overall, my career worked. I always had an office with a door on it, and the door was always open. Maybe the best of all, I received a paycheck every month for 60 years. And as my helpful, thoughtful brothers like to point out, that doesn't include Chuck's severance. In other words, I've been fired too. So that's what you include Chuck's severance. When you get fired, you get severance.
Yeah.
So it's funny too. It's humorous. It isn't a tomb of there I was at the front. It's a funny tale of events that somehow I got caught up in.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, yeah, you don't always imagine what path you're going to go on. And sometimes you don't know it until you're on it, in your life. And I'm glad that you have the support of your family. Did you ever have somebody say, "Why did you put that in there?"
Well, when you read it, you'll find out that I went way out of my way to be non-controversial.
Oh,
I didn't put anything in that was a political judgment. I didn't put anything in that would challenge. I had a divorce that I was, should be and was very kind to those situations. What I wanted to do was to focus on the journey, and I go back to this, but how do you go from one of these to the other? For example, my Harvard, I applied to 18 colleges, got into 2 and kicked out of 1. because of my dyslexia, nobody would take me. And I came back from Vietnam, and I thought I could get into Boston University. They turned me down. The only school that took me was Harvard. And there's this story of how that unfolded. And my first job was in the West Wing of the White House, working for Alexander Haig, General Haig. What glued that together? How does that happen?
Yeah.
And then President Ford appointed me to the State Department, Henry Kissinger's State Department, and I worked with Henry, who spent his life, bless his soul, calling me Jack. And then I got into corporate life and began to make my way in big time corporate life. So I really wanted to concentrate on the event and the journey and not on me. And I think the reason, if I can say it, the reviews have been so positive. I just got a purpose star on my book, is because it isn't about me. It's about the journey I was on and how it all kind of came together. So, and that's the one thing I'm proud of. I'm proud of the fact that the reviews reflect the fact that it was a gritty, humble struggle, and that's how it's portrayed.
Well, I like that, because not a lot of, when you're writing about your history or your family's history, a lot of it is, focused on around like the author, like with their memoirs, even if they're having help writing it, a collaboration or a ghostwriter, they are, it's kind of like them in that moment rather than the events that are surrounding them and their perception of said events. So this is kind of, to me, it sounds like it's a unique way to share your story, your journey. So I honestly can't wait to read it.
Well, it's also, thank you. I purposely wanted the events. For example, funny things happened when I went to Taft School, prep school in Watertown, Connecticut. They voted me. They said in the yearbook, reminds us of a cliche, which isn't a great indication of a future. And a lot of humorous things happened too, and there were serious things. And the White House time, as I said, access without authority. I was doing whatever General Haig asked me to do as quickly as I could.
Did you meet Did you meet the president himself?
Did I what?
Did you meet Gerald Ford yourself?
Oh yes, I handled the president's briefing papers. I saw the presidents quite often. I would go in the morning and say, "Good morning, Mr. President. This is what's happening today." And I was in the West Wing of the White House, 2 doors down, and I was right there. And I got caught up in the Watergate and stuff. And if you'll give me it's in the book, but I have a poem that a member of Ford's staff gave me when I left the White House to go to the State Department. Would it be okay if I read it to you?
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear it.
It's very short. Give me 1 second, I'll get it.
No problem. Yes. Can't wait to hear what he has to say.
I got it.
Great.
It's on the hanging on the wall. I have to bring it down. Now, there's a picture of it in the book, but it's a framed chapstick. If you can picture a chain, a chapstick that was framed. And on the back it says, an ode to Chuck, or how to succeed in government without really trying. Nixon, Ford, Haig, or Rummy, it mattered not to this dummy. Gopher, Wardell would do their bidding, and for great reward, are you kidding? Yes, sir, he cried into the night. I'll do it, as hard as I might. Through tapes, transcripts, and minefields he tried. But we've never seen better luck, by God. Was it really just dumb Irish luck? Hell no, that's why we call him Chapstick Chuck.
Oh, I love that.
And I got a framed chapstick as I walked out of the White House. So there's humor in the book too, and there should be. I love the laughs, and I'm very grateful. I'm enormously grateful that I had the opportunities that I've had, and it took hard work to get there, but it was not. I started as a kid who flunked out of college and kind of hit rock bottom.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to reading that book, and I must say that it has been truly an honor having you on the show. So thank you for being on the show, and thank you, audience, for listening. If you wish to be a guest on the show, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast and schedule your pre-recording. Don't forget, if you wish to comment on this show or any show, comments are available, and yes, I will read them. Please follow this podcast on Spotify. I'm Amy Shannon. Be safe, be well, and always be kind. Tune in here again next week for another tantalizing discussion. Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast.